All right, I'm gonna make a quick review on this hidden sleeve. So this is made by ALM. Now, a hidden sleeve, if you're not familiar with this concept, it's a bite sleeve. It'll go underneath some sort of clothing that is not made of French linen or any of that type of material, or jute or anything like that a lot of protection dogs are used to biting. So a hidden sleeve could go underneath leather, fleece, wool, cotton, any type of clothing that you would use for either personal protection, police dog training, or PSA. Now in PSA, so the PDC and the level 1, this is where one of the bite scenarios, the decoy is not wearing a full suit, they're not wearing a bite sleeve, they're wearing this hidden sleeve and some sort of a jacket, a hoodie, or some sort of a shirt that goes on top of this. Now the hidden sleeve itself is actually quite thin. So if you look at this, this is not going to give you a whole lot of protection. This particular brand, ALM, this particular hidden sleeve is made of Kevlar, so it's going to protect you from punctures, but it's not going to protect you from pressure. So if it's meant to be worn, obviously, like, you know, from your wrist all the way to your shoulder or your bicep. But if you look at this, it really is not protecting you a whole lot. So the scenario that we do this with, that we use this with, you're gonna feel the pressure. And if you turn your arm this way, so if you turn your arm like this, the two bones on your forearm could be compromised. So the way you want to present it is to present it like this. That way the pressure is not going to mess up your bones. And this is thin enough so that you could put a sweatshirt on top, a jacket, or something like that. Now, the way that you would introduce this, if the dog is already a little bit savvy, a little bit experienced with bite work, you could just put it on and you can kind of tease the dog. Now the dog is biting on it. It's a very familiar feeling to it. That's why I like this particular brand, ALM, because if you look at this, it just looks like a regular sleeve. You could use it like a regular sleeve. Some of the other hidden sleeves out there on the market, you can do that with. So some of those other hidden sleeves, they have they have laces that you have to tighten up. So the whole inside of the hidden sleeve is just laced up or velcroed. So it's not as easy for you to kind of play with the dog and get him used to this feeling. So ALM just did a great job with this product because it just wraps all the way around. There is no laces, no Velcro, no adjustment. But anyway, so it's more of a different feeling to it for the dog, slightly different because it's a little bit thinner, but it's a good way to introduce the dog to it. Now, for you to now introduce it onto the dog, because you wouldn't just use this in the PSA scenario, or in the police scenario, or in the personal protection scenario, you would put something else on top of it. And the idea is for the dog to feel comfortable mouthing and biting on other surfaces such as leather, cotton, wool, or any of those things, which are very different than the bite suit material or the jute material that they get imprinted on when they're younger for bite work. So once I kind of get the dog used to this, one thing I can do is I can have the handler hold on to the dog, so post up, and just the experienced decoy, somebody who knows what they're doing, would just tease the dog. Now this time what I would do to introduce this to a dog, I could just get a hoodie, and I don't even have to put the whole thing on. Honestly, you can. As long as the rest of the jacket or the sweater, the hoodie, is out of the way. So I don't even have to put it on. All this is just a different material. Now, it might not look like much of a difference to you, but to some dogs, when they bite this and they're only used to biting on French linen or jute, they feel a little bit weird about this, so they kind of let go, they hesitate. So I'm prepared for this just in case it happens. So I'm going to tease the dog. I'm going to get the dog nice and agitated. I'm going to engage it in prey drive. I'm going to ideally not introduce this in defense. So I'm not going to threaten the dog. This isn't going to be too serious. This is just, a predatory introduction. I'm making the dog miss back and forth. And then on one of those, I let the dog get it. And as soon as that dog gives me that full confident bite, that nice full grip, then I immediately start playing with the dog. I can start praising the dog, petting him, because it's supposed to be fun. If I approach this in defense, now the dog is a little bit more, a little bit more serious, and it could potentially not be as good of an introduction as it would be if I approach this in prey drive. Now, obviously, you have to take into account that every dog is going to be different. Some dogs are more defensive, and sometimes you just kind of have to activate a little bit of that. That depends on the dog, though. From here, once the dog has that initial good session, good repetition with the hidden sleeve, now I can move on to a different type of material. So this is a hoodie, probably some kind of poly cotton blend. And then another thing I could do is I could grab a leather jacket, right? Ideally an old leather jacket, something that you don't use, so you can go to the Goodwill or some sort of store that sells used clothing, because you don't want to ruin a nice leather jacket. But same thing, you just get the dog used to different types of surfaces that they would encounter in a real scenario, or in the PDC or PSA 1 trial field. So that would be how you would introduce the hidden sleeve. And also, it's a little bit of a product review also. I've tried like 2 different kinds of hidden sleeves, and I already talked about them. I've tried the ones that have the Velcro, and I've also tried the ones that have the lace, and they'll do the job for sure. I mean, I've used them, they've been fine. But when I tried the ALM, to me this was the best hidden sleeve that I've used.